Welcome back to another Overwatch Coach VOD review. Today we're going to be reviewing a Plat 3 BAP and Ana VOD review on Junkertown. It's going to be a long one, so we're going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. Usually games that go a little under this, I spend about up to an hour on, so hopefully this doesn't turn into too long of a VOD review, but we'll try to keep it in the 30 to 45 minute ballpark. So with that being said, let's dig into this here. I gotta kind of pick and choose what I read off of the intro because it's going to spoil the game result. Let's see here. He feels that they feel they did very well in the game. It was hard fought and close. High healing stats. Concerned about their accuracy being at 57%. They felt they maybe could have done more when they were playing Ana. And then they also posted a picture of the scoreboard at the end of the game. So without putting too much out there on this scoreboard, and if I remember at the end of the video, maybe I'll even try to show it if I can find a way to do that without revealing some other info. Just from the general look of things, this is looking like it's a DPS stiff and potentially maybe a tank composition issue. But I'm seeing some major discrepancy on the DPS stats. Especially like what I'm seeing as far as what, because it doesn't look like Team 1's DPS ever swap. Team 2's doesn't look like they swap much. There's a little bit. It looks like there's a little swapping on Team 2, but not a lot. Doesn't look like Team 1 swaps much at all outside of the tank. So yeah, I don't know. It's just from the scoreboard, I'm going to make a prediction and say I'm going to be blaming the DPS at the end of this, but we'll see how this plays out. I haven't watched this yet. So, let's get into our team comp here. So this is our Ana. Oh, we've already got a swap at tank, but this is still not the tank that's on the scoreboard picture. So they must swap again at some point. But anyway, Ana going with Cassidy and Widow. I don't see a lot of synergy there. I'm okay with the Zen because you've got the Roadhog. So the heal, like Ana can definitely pocket the Roadhog. Zen should be able to keep a Widowmaker at full health or pretty close to it. And then Cassidy between both of you should be covered. If the Zen throws his healing orb primarily on Roadhog, that could be an issue. The only issue I see here with Ana is I'm not seeing any obvious nano targets. I mean, there's just nobody in a good spot to nano. I mean, you could obviously Cassidy could be a nano target and Zen could be a nano target, or if Roadhog is like right in the mix of things, you could maybe bail him out with it. But, you know, in terms of like what you could potentially get out of Nano with the right characters, I'm not seeing it here. All right. So with that being said, I do think BAP could potentially be a slightly better choice here. The other character I would throw out would be Kiriko. Just because typically when you have a Roadhog, the other team, assuming the Roadhog's any good, the other team will be forced usually to play Ana to anti him because the Roadhog just never really dies. So then if an Ana tries to anti the Roadhog, then you've got the Kiriko to cleanse it and kind of wash that whole, you know, interaction away. But obviously we know you're going to go BAP at some point. BAP's not the worst choice here. I think BAP's a good swap. The Zen is going to swap to Ana when you swap to BAP. So just to throw that out there, that'll happen at some point. But yeah, let's dig into this and see what we've got. Widow with a quick pick. Yep, and you're doing exactly what you should be doing right now. The only issue I've got with what you're doing right now is I don't know why you're just moving around so much. You're playing behind cover. there's clearly nobody around you shooting at you, so why are you just moving around and making your shots potentially harder than they might need to be? Granted, hitting Roadhog's not that hard, but I don't know. Feels like you're moving around a little too much for nothing. Like, now that you have the potential of maybe being shot at, now you might move around a bit, but good sleep.
Happy to assist.
Okay, so I would be throwing your anti right here and then just worry about healing your Roadhog because he's about to heal himself and then you're going to heal him after you throw the nade. If you land an anti-nade and then Roadhog lands a hook, that might be a kill. Or if not, maybe you finish him off or maybe the Roadhog finishes him off with a second shot or something like that, but that puts the Roadhog in a great position to get a kill. All you're doing is prolonging his agony at the moment. Outside of the grenade choice, I haven't really seen too much to be too alarmed at the moment. Again, the moving thing, don't think you really need to worry about that right now. Just, you know, chill out.
No one can hide from my sight.
There you go. Better nade. Would have been nice if you got the Bastion with it, but I'll take it. Yeah, this Zen, I'm not seeing his healing orb very often, so I'm not totally sure what he's been healing, but the Zen dying there is unfortunate. Your reaction time to it felt a little bit slow, but it also, I see where you're talking about with your aim being a concern. You started missing shots on harder to hit heroes there.
Step rider.
Keep him up, keep him up.
Taking care of you. Hello.
Not really sure what he was trying to do with that high noon. That felt like a Hail Mary with a couple seconds left on the clock kind of a thing, which wasn't really needed yet. The Zen died again. So I guess the one thing I would point out now, maybe aside from the tank, because I think you're doing a good job healing your tank, but maybe start, instead of focusing a little bit on healing the DPS, which I feel you've got some focus on, maybe take some of that away and put it toward the Zen and let the Zen worry a little bit more about healing these DPS. Because it feels like the Zen is dying too much at this point, and I'm wondering if it's just because you're not healing him. And I don't know why this is a thing, and this has been a thing since Overwatch 1, I feel like, but I feel like supports don't always cover each other like they should. And I don't understand why that is, because you healing the Zen makes your life easier because then his healing orb is out there healing somebody that you don't have to worry about. So obviously we're a little early into this, but if I keep noticing this as a trend, make sure you're focusing on keeping your other support up. Because I do notice that in games, like I'll occasionally play with a support that just does not heal the other support, and it's a little infuriating after a while. Especially when they get toxic and then try to call out your healing stats to theirs, but maybe you're dying because you're just not getting healed. Okay, careful on your positioning here, because you're kind of putting yourself out there a little bit. Like, if you're trying to go over to this spot, what I would have suggested is make sure your Roadhog's at full health and then just go around that way and then just, you know, come out the other way instead of going out here like this, because now you're kind of out in the open. Granted, they're not running a lot of long range outside of the Sojourn, but she probably, after her nerf, she probably doesn't have any railgun charge to punish you with it. But you're kind of putting yourself in harm's way going this way. You could have also taken the high ground and then came around too, I suppose. Good sleep. Very laggy decision to choose what you just did there. Yeah, I don't know. That was like way behind the Lucio's death. And you didn't really need to do it because the Zen had you covered there anyway. And that was a good opportunity for the Zen to get an easy pick. So really what you should have done here. So let's back this up just a bit. So you sleep them. So what I would do is if you're looking to throw your nade, I would probably try to hit the cart right there, somewhere in that vicinity, or right here, because then you're probably going to get Bastion and you're going to get your Roadhog. The Roadhog's going out of position by playing over there. I don't know if he realizes you moved over here or what, but him playing over there is not good for him. So, and then having not thrown the nade yet, you could throw it right here, and then that might make the Ryan back off or just hold his shield up. That'll boost the Roadhog's health up to about right there, and then as you heal him, it's going to, you know, fly in the positive direction because he'll get the healing boost. But yeah, that nade there, very, very behind. And that's just unfortunate. That's out. Honestly, it's kind of a frustrating ult to take as the support on the receiving end of that, but honestly, it's a bad ult by the Reinhardt. He didn't need to do that. It's one of those things you should take personally and then try to punish the Rhine more as the game goes on. Yeah, I would have waited for the nade and then thrown that. I don't love the nano, but the way this game's playing out, you're probably, well, he's at 82%. Actually, yeah, you might want to have saved that for the Genji.
Thanks.
You gotta top him off. And I don't know what you're doing right now. Also don't know what the Ryan is doing. This all went south about right here. Right here is where it goes south. And frankly, alright, this goes south for two reasons. One, because you nanoed Ryan, and when Ryan gets nanoed, he feels he needs to do something to get value out of it. So you kind of like indirectly tell him to go in by nanoing him, and now he's gonna die. You should go to high ground and then try to cover him from high ground. Like right, let's see. As soon as, basically like right here, you should already be going, you should be trying to go to right there. And then support everybody as they're going in. And then you're going to be hard to hit. And then you'll have a good line of sight on these two. Instead, you kind of dink around with the Genji for a minute while the Ryan goes in by himself. And now you're taking easy fire from the Sojourn. And you nearly die from it. And now you lost your tank. And then you waste a sleep dart that really wasn't there. And this Genji is now overextending. Not a good anti just because there's nobody really around to take advantage of it. I don't even think you hit anything with it though. I think you just hit the shield. Yeah, and then the Zen dies. Okay, you can kill her. Good, good. Oh, that's really unfortunate. Yeah, you needed your sleep dart for that. Sleep. Did you need to reload there? Yeah, you did. Okay. Just making sure this wasn't a situation of somebody hitting reload when they didn't need to, but yeah, you were out. Yeah, the Zen's not putting enough healing out at this point. That's a given. So the Zen's not working here. At this point, I don't really think it's anything in particular you're doing wrong. I mean, I think you could maybe be heal prioritizing your Zen a little bit more, but I don't know that it would truly make much of a difference. The only thing is you would have tranced a little bit more often, which might have helped, but that nano on the Rhine wasn't too great, though. I think that nano on Rhine kind of backfired.
Don't fret. I see you. My ultimate is fully charged. Get in there. Help me.
If I were this Rhine, I would consider going Diva or Sigma. Probably Sigma, honestly. I think Sigma might be a little bit better, but if they're a good Diva player, they might be able to make Diva work here. Not totally sure what this Zen was doing with that trance. DPS go in, supports don't cover. That felt like a communication breakdown. If you guys would have communicated to the DPS to fall back, I think maybe you don't lose both of your DPS there.
Taking damage.
My ultimate is charging.
You're covered.
Yeah, that sleep would have been
I need healing.
a very tricky shot to have hit.
I'll keep you up.
Try to avoid taking those.
Too eager, Reinhardt. Don't fret. I see you.
We are fewer in number, but great group.
60 seconds remaining.
That Zen, I'd like to see that Zen maybe on Lucio at this point. I think your team would get more value off of that. Assuming they knew how to play Lucio, maybe they don't. But yeah, the problem right now is there's not enough healing coming out. But
Score.
it's not for lack of trying on your part. I think it's more along the lines of having a Zen and your team just takes too much damage and doesn't know how to work around the kind of heals they're getting. And again, I think Lucio could have been maybe a good choice for the Zen player or Kiriko, if the healing still would have felt like not enough. But speeding the Rhine in might have negated some of the damage he takes. Maybe, I don't know. Kiriko would have been the other hero I would have suggested for that Zen player. So, alright, we make an adjustment now at halftime. Now we've got Anna and Bap, so there's a lot of heals that are going to be coming out from this lineup.
Over there.
I don't like the Junker Queen pick going into Orion, though.
Enemy here.
See how this goes, but not sure I like that choice. This Lucio is feeding. Hopefully he gets punished.
Excellent. Keep the payload moving. Someone has to keep you alive.
Not sure why you ignored healing your Cassidy. You clearly saw it out of your peripheral to the right, but you just didn't address it. That Cassidy death is on you. It's on you, and it's on the Cassidy's positioning to not wait for heals too. There is a little self-responsibility to the Cassidy, I should say, but if he had the expectation of getting healed, I wouldn't blame him because he was right next to you. Gotta keep your head on a swivel when playing support. You gotta be looking around at all times. Heal. You're getting sucked into playing a pseudo third DPS as BAP at the moment. Okay, they didn't touch. That's good. Okay, yep. That little interaction there was a good balance. So one thing I like to cover in my VODs is there's a division of labor between you and the other support. Now, you don't normally see Bop and Ana together. These two don't typically play well. It's not that they don't play well together, but you don't usually see them combined together. Not that they can't, but the problem with Bap and Ana is that they're two main healers. So when you're playing Bap and when you're playing Ana, you're both going to have the mindset of healing the tank. This arrow is terrible, but you get the idea. Which then means these two DPS don't get a lot of heals coming their way. So what I recommend if you find yourself in this position in games, pay attention to what your other DPS or your other support is doing. If they are paying attention to the DPS, then you play your role and heal the tank. And if you feel that this Ana is really just hyper focusing on healing the Junker Queen, that's not necessarily the wrong decision because that's what an Ana should do, is heal the tank. But then you've got to make the conscious effort to keep your DPS healed so that they can be aggressive and do their thing. This is why you usually play an off support or a pseudo off support. The pseudos would be Kiriko and Mercy, to kind of keep the DPS going, and then you peel for your tank when needed and vice versa and that kind of thing. But when you're playing these two, you got to make that conscious awareness effort of what is everybody doing so that my team's being supported properly. And I'm not feeling that's being done at the moment. This Ana might be healing the DPS and I'm just not seeing it. You're playing a little on the forward side as BAP. It's not the worst thing in the world, but in terms of me seeing what this Ana's doing, it's been a little difficult. But yeah, like where you're at right now, this is kind of, honestly, this would be a spot I would have recommended you go to. Be careful not to die up here though. Don't wake him, don't wake him. Good, 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 good. Jump up to your soldiering. It looks like this Ana's focusing on Junker Queen. You should ping those guys up there. I'm not sure if your team is aware that they're up there yet. I think they are now, but they could have been a little before. Shoot at the Mercy. There you go. Good kills. I'm totally fine with self-using window, because I find a lot of times when I throw window down for people, they don't use it anyway. So if you can get the value out of it, and that's totally fine. Good pick.
Was you or me, brother?
Baptiste is that one support ult where I feel like you can totally be selfish with it, and as long as you're getting value out of it, nothing wrong with it. Good shift.
No one can hide.
Heal the soldier on, good shot. Careful here, you're kind of frontlining. Okay, so I get you feel that you should be contesting high ground. I get this way too. If you want to contest high ground as a support, BAP's not the worst pick in the world. The other hero I would suggest for doing that would be Lucio, because then you can boop them off of the high ground. Because if you get into a fight up there, you might get stuck in an elongated fight that either gets you killed or has you too focused on doing DPS as Baptiste. and then your team doesn't get healed, and then that turns into an issue on its own merits. That's why I suggest Lucio, because Lucio can allow you to potentially heal your team while you're contesting high ground, depending on where your team is to where you are. But then on top of that, you potentially just get them off of the high ground, which is ultimately what your goal is. And then you can just return back to your team. And if they just come back up there, you go back up there again and try to boop them back off again, you know.
Let's take him to the underworld.
Get into the field.
Good lamp.
You look like you needed a hand.
The only thing I would have suggested for that interaction, once you throw the lamp, jump to high ground, and then you could rain shots down on the Junker Queen, and then your healing shots will feel easier, because when you're lobbing, you know, splashy grenades down, if you've got that high ground and you can go down on it, it's a lot easier to aim that sort of a thing. So a little bit more out of your jump ability here.
Stay alive for me.
The other thing, and I just made a video on this, on how to deal with Hammond, and I talk about every support and the best things that they can do to kind of counteract, or at least not die so easily to Hammond. One of the things that I point out for a BAP is to use his jump ability. Like, he kind of, I wasn't actually sure if he hit you or not when he was rolling past you. I don't know if he did or not, but if he did, a jump could have, you know, avoided that. Yeah, he did, but then you just shift out of it. But had you have jumped to high ground, one, to give yourself a better shot at the Junker Queen, but two, then you don't take that 50 damage, and then you don't waste that shift on yourself just healing 50 damage. So I would be preparing to get a window up, like right there, or some form of angle from this, maybe, so that it goes that way or that way, depending on where they come out of spawn. If they're kind of coming out of both ways, then just throw it in the middle and let your team take the angles they need. But you've got your ult. Wouldn't do it quite yet, but I'd be getting ready to do that, and maybe you are. But if you don't, good pick. Honestly, once the Ana slept the Hammond, that might have been the time to just throw your window down, and then everybody could have shot through the window and done a bunch of damage to the Hammond. Oh, shit. So in this spot here, you throw a window down, and then they mine, and then you can't really utilize it. I would be a minesweeper here, so that way you can kind of get into a better position to heal people. Either that, or kill a couple mines and then jump up to like here, or back up to there, or somewhere like that. Again, jump ability, you're not using it enough. You're using it a little, but you're not using it enough. Like right there again, if you're high ground, you don't take that damage. Oh, you tried to save the Ana, but yeah. Again, you're taking unnecessary damage from the Hammond. We're jumping, having a jump ready for him, for, like kind of like that, but save it for when he's like actually speeding up to do damage to you, and then you might not die so easily. I would recommend maybe going through my previous video. I think it's the one right before this VOD review, and maybe giving that a listen, just on like how to deal with Hammond with all the different supports. Again, I cover all of them.
Pain means you're alive until it doesn't.
This ends now.
Throw a lamp. Not there. I would have thrown lamp like right at the center, right there, so it just covers them. And then once the lamp's up, just focus on healing the Ana by yourself. I'd be more worried about the 2 than the 1.
Round of healing. Oh my guy. Reloading. Be careful. Topping you off.
I'm under attack.
We're outnumbered.
Your team's not handling Hammond very well as a whole.
Push itself.
Oh, he saved you there.
Get in the immortality field.
So yeah, ping the Hammond so that they know where they are. You should be using your ping ability as a support. That's single-handedly the best addition to Overwatch 2 is this ping system, and as a support you need to use it. Support I feel like has a role of playing like a pseudo scout. Obviously some supports are gonna be better at that than others, but when you play support you tend to see the game differently than all the other roles, and throwing out those pings at targets that can be killed when they overextend and things like that are a godsend. So use the ping, because I don't think your team realizes that you and the Ana are dealing with this Hammond quite as much as you guys are, and it's tying up the heals to some extent. Now, with that being said, the heals got tied up there, but you guys still won, so that's great. But that's not always going to be the case. Whereas if you ping the Hammond, they might turn around, all of a sudden the Hammond's dead, and then you guys can go in, and then they don't have a tank, and then you win the fight, and it's a little bit more cleaner. Alright, so you guys got a 6-second time edge.
Let's get you off. Over there. Hostile mark. Stay near the immortality field.
Bit of a leggy decision there.
Everyone feeling better?
So, I guess the thing, I had to think about this for a second, but I guess the thing I would suggest is when you see Hammond diving up here, you have to make a conscious decision. If you feel like your DPS are just simply going to be in trouble when the Hammond dives up there, and you're going to play double main heals, which means that the DPS aren't going to get the proper support that they're used to getting, say for example a Mercy Pocket or a Zen Orb, you know, Kiriko kind of watching their back or something to that extent, an armor pack from Brig, and Lamp is floating around in your head. It's not the worst thing in the world to throw it out prematurely just to make sure that it actually does its job, because when you throw this,
Hostile mark.
they're already one. Like, they're not even one. They're under one. So by the time this takes to get there, it's too late. So what you might consider doing here is you see the Hammond going in. You clearly see it because you're tracking him. But what you're not thinking about is you're in a DPS mindset while on support. He's clearly going here. Like, you know he's going there. So throw the lamp down first, and you might even jump up first, like jump up to get, like, you know, actually here, let's do it like this. Oop. So let's say you jump up and you get to like here. And then all of a sudden, okay, now look at what you're seeing. And then by the time you get up here and you throw lamp, let's say you throw it right there. Now watch what that interaction would be like. Well, you know what? I say that, but now that I think about it, the lamp doesn't protect them when they get shot up into the air. Because once they go over the lamp doesn't protect them. So the lamp might not actually have saved them there either. Now that I think about it. So honestly, the only thing you really could have done is try to have played closer and shifted in that vicinity, because then they get the extra 100 HP instantly. Now that I think about that, I don't like playing BAP into Hammond personally. I don't think it's the greatest of choices. If they're consistently playing Hammond, I would suggest to you playing Brig. Ana's very good for Hammond if you're good at landing sleep darts on him. Those are the two supports I play the most against Hammond. The third one being Lucio. But you have to be good at Lucio to be good at playing Lucio against a Hammond and making the interactions worthwhile. Because you could technically, like, if you're playing Lucio here, you could have wall rode over here and then booped him back as he was coming in and then just canceled that whole interaction altogether. And then if you're Ana, you kind of would have liked to have seen the Ana sleep the Hammond there. And then if you're Brig, you might be able to whip shot him back. Otherwise, you would have been able to armor pack the Widow while swinging away and then creating a bunch of passive heals to keep her up after the armor pack kind of brings her back up to speed again. But this is a good reason why playing BAP into Hammond isn't ideal, because the more I think about it, because let's watch this back another second here. Yeah, look how high up she goes. So she goes right here. Now, the lamp's about to come out. That lamp basically went right there. And if you're above that X, if you're higher than that, it will not protect you. It protects down, not up. So, yeah, forget what I said about the lamp. The only thing realistically you could have done, there's two things you could have done. One's asking a lot. The other one's just being in better positioning. The one about being in better positioning is if you're playing in this vicinity, you hit shift when she gets pile driven. And then they instantly get basically all their health back. The more unrealistic one would have been landing a heal grenade as she lands like right there. That's asking a lot. I know it is, but those are realistically the only two things you could have done to have canceled out that interaction on yourself. Would have been nice to have seen the Ana maybe try to go for a sleep dart. Maybe she did and missed. I don't know, but now you should have had a jump charged up, so when he comes down here like a bowling ball, you don't become a pin being knocked down by the bowling ball. You instead jump over the bowling ball. You gotta see these things coming more, have more foresight, and jumping over the Hammond.
Everyone feeling better? Thanks for the help.
And it's okay to take pot shots at this Hammond as BAP, but don't get too crazy with it. Like, you're getting a little carried away with it right now. See, and here's the problem with Junker Queen. She's not providing a shield, and there's a lot of damage coming in on this team at this point. So it's going to take double main heals focused on healing to make this work. This is kind of turning into a tank gap at this point. Because your team just does not know how to deal with Hammond. They just don't. And that's actually a big reason why I made that Hammond, how to deal with Hammond as a support video. Because I see games like this, and it's really frustrating to see a Hammond just having this kind of free range. When every game that I play, if my enemy team goes Hammond, I view that as an opportunity to punish them easily. But when I watch this, it's like, holy crap, this Hammond's just he's got a field day. You're shooting at this Hammond way too much, too.
Get into the
Not
field.
saying don't shoot at them at all. Okay, they C9'd at that point. Not saying don't shoot at them at all, but when you've got the opportunity to get a shot off on a support or a DPS over a full Hammond, take the shot on the DPS or the support first. Don't worry too much about the tank, unless you just don't have anything better to do at the time, and that includes healing. Like, if you heal first. If you've got a shot to take on a DPS or a support, take that shot. And if you still don't have, and if none of that, you don't have any of that to do, then shoot at the Hammond. Unless he's low or something, you know, that would be the caveat to that rule. But
Hello.
Attackers incoming. Over there. I have the pie spot.
too focused on healing nothing here. This is your opportunity to take random DPS pot shots when nobody's got taken any damage yet. The one thing though is you got to worry about not taking damage and feeding on your own here. So you play behind the cart, peek around it, take a shot or two, and then as your team starts taking damage, then fall back into a healing kind of a role.
Reaching up.
That was not needed. That was a waste.
Enemy here. Over here. No time for reaching. Move out.
Over here! Enemy over here! Over here!
You are completely healed.
30 seconds.
Time's not on our side. Hustle! Get in here.
So, all right. One thing so BAP is actually really good support to play to counteract Maze that are doing well-placed ice walls. For two reasons. One, if you jump really high, you can see over the ice wall and then cover somebody behind it, or you can just jump and land on top of it and start covering them. And then number two, you can do what you just did, which was throwing the lamp so that whoever's on the wrong side of the ice wall won't die so easily. So you handled that fairly well, but I would have liked to have seen you try to jump the ice wall first, but you were a little far back from it. I don't think I necessarily would have expected an ice wall to land right here, so I'm not going to harp on your positioning for that too much, especially considering they haven't played May up until overtime. But yeah, the lamp is a good alternate to keeping whoever gets isolated by an ice wall alive.
Everyone feeling better?
And I don't think I've ever covered that on any of my VODs yet for Baptiste, because I don't think I've seen that interaction in a VOD review here yet. So yeah, jump, good. Well, all right, so you had the right idea, but it just didn't work out. You guys got to touch,
That's better.
and you got to support them for trying to touch.
Round of healing. Get into
Jump.
the field.
Unlucky about the lamp not connecting, but yeah. So, all right. Number one, jump. You got to be using Baptiste jump way more and getting better value out of it, taking high ground spots in fights, using it to avoid damage that you were taking in that game that could have been avoided, that sort of a thing. Two, shift. This is all for BAP, by the way. Using your shift to get a little bit more value out of it definitely could have been better, like saving that Widowmaker at the beginning. Granted, I originally said to lamp, but as we saw, shift would have been the better alternate there. So getting better value out of your shift ability. And then three, this kind of goes coinciding with number one, but it also kind of coincides with what we saw with your Ana play a little bit. And that's, I'll say, POS for positioning. Your positioning at times could have been better playing like a higher ground, playing in spots where you might not have taken damage, where you did take damage, that kind of a thing. And then I'll throw a fourth one out there just because you played two different heroes, but nade placement. That's an E. But your nade placement, we pointed it out as we saw it, but your nade placement at a couple times could have been better. It wasn't all bad. Some of them were fine. Other ones, one felt like it was like a little bit of a leggy brain situation where like you threw it at a Lucio, but he was already dead, when it could have been used to keep your tank going or antiing the enemy tank kind of thing. But you did have a couple pretty good antis in there too. So it's, you know, it's one of those things where you just got to kind of hone that one up a little bit. But I feel like the primary objective of your nade placement, I think for the most part is there, but maybe just kind of clean it up a little bit. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.